Alrighty here. Alright, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight I'd like to discuss powerful hex tools. It's been brought to my attention that a lot of people who have been dabbling in occult hexcraft have been trying to figure out what the best tools would be. Well, I figured, since this question has come my way more than once, I'd figured I'd do a video on this. Now, a lot of things can be done through war water, which is basically moss, pea moss with rusty nails. You can add in sulfur or graveyard dirt to make it more potent. You could also utilize photos with black candles in your own mentalism. There's a lot of different ways that you can do this. But one of the most potent tools out there is gopher dust. Gopher dust is a tool utilized by hoodooism. And hoodooism has been around a long time. Just about as long as voodoo. Now, what's interesting to note about gopher dust is that it can be utilized as both protection, but it can also utilize as a curse. And some of the main symptoms of gopher dust hexing is the fact that those who have been the victim of it have suffered blindness. They have suffered from severe swelling of the limbs, such as the legs and feet. And it's been a lot of how should I say this? Formal symptoms such as headaches, migraines, tiredness, and a lot of things in between. But there are many ways to create gopher dust. But it all comes down to the method used that determines the color of it. For an example, if one was to use, say for an example, snakeskin mixed with sulfur, salt. For an example, let's go with, dust. Okay? Or ash, more to be more precise, not just dust, but ash. This combines with a very potent powder that will destabilize your opponent, your enemy. But you can also utilize things such as, say for an example, spices and herbs, flowers. There are very potent trees out there, such as the little apple. You can use venom from poisonous snakes. You can utilize poisonous plants. Okay? But then you can also utilize herbs from your own kitchen. Certain things like paprika. Very potent. It's done to burn your opponent. But it can also be used to harness a very potent hex. A lot of good hexes have come from just herbalism alone. Take it from me. I should know I've utilized it enough. But there are also other forms of tools. There are tools out there where you can take a photo of an individual and pour candle wax on it. Vinegar or some form of oil, some form of corrosive acid that when incorporated with, let's just say, moistened considerably within, say for an example, just left out to where worms and locusts and other insects have been crawling all over it, you can utilize insectum, you know, involved in this stuff. You can mix it all together. Very potent stuff. And some of the main things is adding sulfur powder, graveyard dirt. You can build a coffin, perhaps even carving a voodoo doll, for an example, that can go into the coffin. All right. There's a lot of different methods that are out there to create hex tools that are very, very potent. Gris bags have been used for centuries. They've been used in one form or another, such as pouches, bags, things that have been hidden near or on the individual, say, for example, in their home or on a pathway that they walk daily. You know, there are different ways to utilize hexcraft. There's a lot of utilization techniques that you can use to curse people. And a lot of things that have come my way is that a lot of these individuals are basically asking for curses that, how should I say this? The best way to describe it is somebody looks at them the wrong way and they want to curse you. But what's the point of that? If they have not made it personal, why would you want to go out and curse somebody? The difference between a Wiccan and a Satanist, for an example, is a Satanist will simply destroy their enemy. Flat out. Just destroy them. An eye for an eye, blood for blood, life for a life. Okay? It's called self-preservation, which is the Satanist's highest law. Whereas self-gratification is the second highest law. Anything that brings the individual pleasure is all good as long as it doesn't violate the first and highest law of a Satanist. Now, in paganism, in Wiccan belief systems, they follow what is called the law of three. Therefore, they would not do anything to harm somebody in fear that it would come back at them tenfold. Either tenfold, 100-fold, or 1,000-fold, whatever, that whole Murphy's Law karmic thing, if you believe in that type of thing. Now, I do believe that there's a thing out there called karma. What you dish out, eventually it's going to come back and kick you in the balls. But I also believe in justice. And that's where hexcraft and cursing comes into play. If somebody wrongs you in a serious manner, like, say, for an example, rapes your wife, your sister, your daughter, whatever, somebody murders your spouse or your child, and they get away with it, then the justice system has failed you, and therefore going to a black magician to seek justice is something that I would condone in that point. But I would recommend that you utilize all means necessary before you sink into dark magics. Now, that's just my own personal point of view. Now, I'm not saying sit there and let somebody pound on you until, their arms get tired. No, I'm not saying that. I mean, if somebody throws a punch at you and strikes you in the left, smash them in the right. Anton Zand de LaVey, the Satanic Bible, It's also one of the 9 satanic statements. So, and I do believe that. I mean, name one person in their right mind that would just sit there and allow themselves to get pummeled. I mean, seriously. But when it comes to hexcraft, you really want to know what you're doing. But you also want to have a strong link to your opponent, to your victim, your intended target. And that's why I recommend personal items with ancient things such as coins, bones, charred bones and stuff like that. Things with saliva, blood, hair, menstrual blood or semen, something that links the spell directly to your opponent. but also knowing that they cannot do anything to stop you because the blood is your own. Your saliva or something to deal with you personally is involved in that connects it. Okay, therefore only you can release that that target from their fate if they've learned their lesson. But that's the difference between a curse and a hex. And that's one of the things that I like about about hoodooism, is they get a lot of cool things. Now, Go for Dust, for an example, is one of the greatest things because it's utilized in more than one topic: protection, healing, okay, but also vengeance, okay. You have things like herbalism and plants that can be utilized both in healing but also in cursing. Okay, and that's the thing about cursing and hexing, is there's two different things here. A hex, which is utilized as a way of teaching your enemy how to learn from their mistakes. A dead enemy cannot learn from their mistakes. Okay, they cannot grow as individuals. But if you curse someone, a curse is meant to destroy your enemy, to kill your enemy. And that's the difference between a hex and a curse. Now, when we get into black magic, there's a whole nother point of view of hexing that you can get into. For an example, when you get into things let's go with candles, calling on demonolatry, okay, dealing with photos. Now, a photo is something that is very, very useful because if you have a photo of an enemy, okay, then you can utilize that photo to target your enemy from a distance. Now, you can also utilize, say, for an example, 3 candles. For an example, a skull candle, which is something that's been used over the last 20 years, that you can buy just about any, occult shop, that deals with it. Like, say, Luciferian Apotheca has them. Um, Hex has them. Hex is a store run by Christian Day. Any modern day occult shop has these type of items that you can utilize. Black candles, red candles represent desire and will and passion, whereas black is more negative. It's viewed more as negative. It's like the void, and it's used for hatred. It's used for destruction rituals. But then you have green, which is utilized in a form of tribulation. A lot of people don't look at candle colors in the same way. Some things can be targeted. For an example, if you know what your opponent likes, like say if they like money, power, utilize a red candle with a black candle and a green candle. But instead of utilizing the red and black candles in a way that you would normally use in a satanic destruction ritual, utilize the individual's name, okay, and what you wish to befall that victim within the green candle. Okay, so if that individual likes money, like say if you take for an example, let's go with Donald Trump. Yeah, he's the president of the United States now. So yeah, you really have to be careful what you say and do. But back when he was just a businessman, okay, running a corporate industrial company, okay, one of the biggest things that he's known for is money. Money and power. Money brings power, and it can get you into things that allow you doors to open for you. But it also brings greed. It brings uh, a type of criminal activity in a lot of cases, because a lot of people, they just stop caring about things like, say, the world, the nature, okay, and then they start uh, polluting the nature, and they get away with murder because they have money. There's been celebrities in Hollywood for years. Look at Paris Hilton, for an example. How many times did she break the law before a judge said, fuck you? You're going to jail for 30 days or 45 days. I think it was like 45 days for her. But you see my point. But let's say, for an example, that money is something that is this individual would care for. Therefore, I would utilize a green candle in that way. And as it burns down, envision and utilize it within a destructive manner where they lose all their funds. Okay? And they end up dirt poor on the street, whatever. They lose everything. The same thing can be utilized with a red candle. Red is passion, it's desire, as I said earlier. Okay? So therefore, it would be something utilized to indulge your deepest desire, your passion, your hatred, your rage, and direct it directly at that opponent. So if you have that photo and you staple it onto that candle, or even have the candle sitting on it to where that the wax drips down onto that photo, you're basically putting your rage, your negativity, you're killing them through your own desire, your own intent of negativity. Black candles are very popular within black magic because of the fact that it's known for destruction. It's a negative thing. It's tied in with Saturn. It's tied in with demonic worship. It's tied in with demonology, angelology, and a lot of different things that people really don't truly understand until you've delved into that world. Okay. But in voodooism, you can also utilize voodoo dolls. Now, voodoo dolls can become, knitted people, miniature people with, say, for an example, dirt or some form of cotton inside of it. Okay, that you can utilize pins to tear down your enemy, to break them physically, mentally, and emotionally and spiritually. But you can also utilize the husks of corn to create them. Okay, so there's many different ways to create a voodoo doll. And then when you get into other things, such as, for an example, Umbanda or Palo Mayumbi, then you're getting into other things. You're getting into the Ugan. You're getting into the fast-paced tempos of destruction. And the power that comes by these rituals are very fast-paced. They're very powerful and potent. They're unlike satanic rituals where you lower your energy to focus your mind and your will to create that, to raise that, and that destructive energy while you lower your heartbeat and come into tune with that negative destructive energies, the banal stuff. Palo Mayumbi, Quimbanda, and Ambanda, which are most of the feared, some of the most feared rituals out there. Umbanda and Quimbanda are known as the most bloodiest organizations out there, religious movements out there. But unlike satanic destruction magics, their way is much more fast-paced. You're dealing with dancing. You're dealing with sigilliums. You're dealing with the Ugan. You're dealing with the Loa if you're into voodooism or hoodooism for that matter, depending if it's LWA or LOA, depending on the spelling of them. A lot of them would deal with the Loa of the dead, such as Baron Sadi, or if you're going into Agents of Death, you want to go with the devil types like Set in Egyptian, Hades in Greek, or Mephistopheles in Greek. You got Molech Moloch in Babylonian, Satan in Hebrewism, a bliss in Islam, okay, Supe in Inca, okay. Every religion has them, both in gods, male deities and female deities of destruction, such as Kali in Hinduism, for an example. Between Kali and Shiva, two of the most destructive goddesses that I know about. And then when you get into more modern day stuff like Santeria, or say for an example, Santa Morte. Santa Morte is a goddess of many faces. Okay, she's known as Saint Death, Holy Death. Okay, she depending on the robes that she wears, she's able to strike at you. She can protect you. She can destroy your enemies. If you call on, say, for example, Hecate, same thing. You know, Jason Miller and his book Reversal and Protection Magic works a lot with Hecate and her magics. And the Wheel of Hecate, for an example, it comes with an incantation, calls on the Fates, the Furies, and the Gorgons. And right there, that should tell you everything you need to know about the Wheel of Hecate and calling on Hecate. Because not only is she the goddess of witchcraft, ghosts, and the underworld, but she's also known as the goddess of justice. Okay? Calling on Isis and her power in Egyptian, very, very powerful magics. The same thing with working with Hel from Norse mythology, or even that of Loki the trickster. Okay? Same exact things. You have to know what you're talking about and know what you're doing to get into hexcraft and cursing methods. But you also have to go by the differences between, say, for an example, that of the Hermetics, the Klapoth, the Da'ath magics. Ariok wrote a book called the Five Books of Satanic Philosophy. Incredible books dealing with both the zodiac, the astrology, and the Kabbalah, specifically the Tree of Death, which is his variation of the Tree of Life. It's more of the destructive purposes within that, and it's magnificent. I highly recommend his book to you, along with Jason Miller's book. Now, there are plenty of books out there on cursing and hexing. For an example, S. Connolly has a book called, which is based off curses. Her variations is very, very unique. Before I got my hands on her book, I never really thought of utilizing the book of Psalms, for an example, out of the Bible to curse someone. I never really thought about it that much. You either create your own curses or you go with the old school from ages of past. Like Haiti, the Haitian hoodooism, the voodooism from Africa, the old school traditions of black magical practices. But to see how you can utilize stuff from other religions, such as the right wing, such as the Book of Psalms, for an example, in S. Connolly's book, that's something that's unique and something that puts a new perspective on the topic. To curse people, you've got other books, which I have quite a few of them myself. And not just on herbalism, but also on many, many different topics, from spiritual conjuration to the utilization of oleums and many other topics, such as poisons, venoms, you name it. I've basically got my hands on them, and I mean, it's very, very good, awesome stuff. But nothing in my experience comes to the most potent aspects of Gopher Dust and old school black magic of hoodooism. Hoodooism is something that is very, very unique, especially that of the old 16th century, the 15th, 16th centuries. aspects from Haitian voodoo and ancient. How should I say this? Ancient hoodooism from Hades. Very, very good stuff there, and I do recommend that you look into some of these things. And you really want to do your homework first before you do anything else. Okay? Once you've done your research, you've gone into various different traditions, styles, and methods of practice, then you can start experimenting with stuff, finding new ways of doing it. And I guarantee you, you're going to find very interesting results within your practices. But no black magic practices are, how should I say, complete without some form of knowledge of hexing and cursing. So really look into that. All right? With that said, that's been this video on Hexcraft tools. Hope it's been enlightening. Hope it's been educational. Hope you go out and look at those resources and start studying on your own and researching it, practicing it, experimentation, the whole kit and caboodle. If you have any questions, you can always message me. I will definitely make myself available to you, and I will definitely be posting more stuff. All right? Until next time, this Dark Sorcerer is out. Enjoy.